All right, chapter 3. Jamal, wait for Sassy so you can walk to school with her. I'm going to be late waiting for her, Jamal said. Sassy, put some Vaseline on your face before you leave. Sassy went into the bathroom. Jamal saw her standing in front of the sink and went to the bathroom door to watch her. She took some Vaseline from the jar, rubbed it between her palms, and then put it on her face. She made a tight face as she smoothed it on her cheeks and squinted her eyes as she put it on the top of her nose. Then she turned toward Jamal and smiled. You think you're cute or something? Jamal asked. All I know is what I see in the mirror, Sassy said, walking past her brother. Mama, she thinks she cute, Jamal said. She is cute, Mama said. No, she ain't. Tito thinks I'm cute, Sassy said. Tito told me you were ugly. No, he didn't, because he told Mary I was the cutest girl in the 3rd grade. They must got some ugly girls in 3rd grade then, Jamal said. Y'all get on to school. Mama patted Sassy's hair into place. And don't fool around on the way. The day started off wrong. Jamal had stopped to talk to Malcolm in the hall and was late for class. He had to go to the office and sit in there while the principal, Mr. Davidson, finished up some paperwork. Then he had to stand in Mr. Davidson's office and listen to him. How many times have you been late this year? Jamal shrugged. Look at me when I talk to you, young man. Jamal looked up at Mr. Davidson and then back down at the floor. He knew he had been late 4 times. He had been late twice the week that Randy had been transferred from the city to the prison upstate. I would ask you to bring your mother to school, but she probably don't care any more about your education than you do. Jamal felt tears come into his eyes. He looked up at Mr. Davidson again, and this time he didn't put his head down. The next time you're late, you're going to say after school 10 minutes for every 1 minute you're late. Do you understand that? Jamal didn't answer. I asked you if you understood it. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Davidson said. At least try to talk as if you're civilized. When Jamal walked out of Mr. Davidson's office, he felt like walking right out of the school. He was tired of school anyway. The only thing he did was to sit in the classrooms and listen to the teachers tell him what he couldn't do. He didn't even have to show up for school to know what they were going to say. Mrs. Rich was checking the homework when he reached his first class. She was talking to Brandon about how he hadn't turned in his homework in 3 days. Jamal wondered if she meant the homework from the day before. He hadn't remembered any. He had even checked. Jamal, do you have your homework? You didn't give out no homework yesterday, Jamal said. Myrna Rivera giggled. You were supposed to have finished the workbook pages. Mrs. Rich stood up. It was on the board for 3 days. It wasn't on the board yesterday, Jamal said. It was on the board in the morning, Christine said. Forget it, Jamal. Mrs. Rich went back to her desk. I'm sure you like the 7th grade enough to spend another year in it. Maybe you'll get some of your homework done by this time next year. Jamal didn't say anything. Mrs. Rich was pretty good, but she was always on his case. She said he could do better if he really tried. Reading was okay. He didn't get called on. Social studies was okay, too. At least Mr. Hunter didn't bother anybody. When Jamal got home for lunch, Sassy was already there. She liked to get home before him so she could unlock the door. Mama's working, she said. How you know? The phone was ringing when I got in, Sassy said. She gonna be late? No, she ain't working for Mr. Stanton. She doing some day's work. She said you should go down and get some eggs and bread, and we can have some egg sandwiches for lunch or some frankfurters, Sassy said. I don't want no eggs. From Evans? Yeah. I ain't going down there. Mama told me to tell you to go, Sassy said. Well, I ain't going. I'm going to tell Mama. I still ain't going. Well, what are we going to eat for lunch? I went down there yesterday to get some rice, and he came loud-mouthing me in front of everybody. What'd he say? That he ain't the welfare department? I ain't hungry anyway, Sassy said. This summer I'm getting me a job, Jamal said, and I ain't spending nothing in his raggedy store. Me too. You can't get no job, Jamal said. It'd take a man to get a job. You ain't no man yet. You want to play some checkers? Why, you feel like losing? Jamal got back to school on time, making sure to walk past Mr. Davidson so the principal would notice that he wasn't late. But Mr. Davidson didn't say anything. That was what was wrong. When you did something wrong, everybody put their mouth on you. Then when you did something good, everybody acted like it wasn't anything special. Grammar was his favorite class. He didn't actually like the subject, but Miss Brown wasn't too bad. They talked about nouns and pronouns, and Mark Vibos got them mixed up again, as he always did. When the class was almost over, Miss Brown asked Jamal and Sandra if they could stay a while after school and help get the stage ready for the 7th grade play. "We still have to paint the trees for the background," she said, "and I thought maybe we could even try to paint a park bench into the scene. I have 2 students from each of the other classes to help too. You can leave whenever you like." "I'll stay," Jamal said. Sandra said she could stay too. "Good," Miss Brown smiled. She was the prettiest teacher in the school, even when she didn't smile. There are a few other things to do as well. If there was anything that Jamal could do, it was draw. He liked to draw, and he liked to paint. Maybe for Christmas he would ask Mama to buy him some real paints, not the watercolors that you got at McCory's. And a real paintbrush, too. He could paint with the brushes that came with the watercolor set he had, but what he wanted was a real artist brush. Maybe even 2, a big one that was flat on the end, and a little one with a point. The play was still 3 days off. If everything went okay between now and then, he would ask Mama to come and see the play. He'd have to find out who was coming, though, because he didn't want Mr. Davidson or anybody starting up anything with her. He would try to be real good until then. Do his homework every day and everything. Then he would ask Mama to come to the play, and she could see the trees and stuff he painted. He only had one more class, and that was guidance with Miss Mitchell, his homeroom teacher. He looked at the clock on the wall. It was 2 minutes past 2. "Yo, Jamal, what kind of sneakers you wearing?" They had just got into guidance, and Dwayne was starting his mess again. "Why don't you shut your mouth?" Jamal said. There were only 15 minutes of school left, and he didn't want any garbage out of Dwayne. "All I did was to ask you a question," Dwayne said, looking in the direction of Billy Ware. "What kind of sneakers you wearing?" "None of your business," Jamal said. "They look like Brand X sneakers to me," Dwayne said. I think you got a Brand X face," Jamal said. "Hey, Billy, he got them sneakers from the Salvation Army." Billy giggled and looked down at Jamal's sneakers. "I got these sneakers from Bradley's," Jamal said. "They look like they come from the garbage can behind Bradley's," Dwayne said. "You probably got that raggedy shirt from there, too." "If I put one of these sneakers upside your head, you won't worry about where they come from," Jamal said. "You ain't got the heart, punk." Dwayne had a small head and eyes that always looked half closed. You need your butt beat so bad you can't wait, huh?" Jamal said. "You look like a frog," Dwayne said. "Anytime you feel like a frog, just leap on over here, because I got something for you." Dwayne looked around to see who was looking at him, saw Billy Ware watching them, and grinned. Dwayne made Jamal feel small inside. Even when the older boy got turned away from him, Jamal could still feel his grin. Lots of things made him feel that same way, small inside and weak. The guy at the furniture store who had yelled at Mama had made him feel that way. Teachers who made him stand up in class when he had made a mistake or didn't have his homework. Big kids who laughed at him were the worst because there wasn't anything he could do to stop them. Not by himself. Not while he was small and not as tough as they were. All right, so your homework question tonight. We talked already about the people and things that make Jamal feel small, excuse me. So the question I want to ask you tonight is describe Jamal's relationship with his mother, with his Mama and Sassy. What's that relationship like? And how do you know? What can you use to support that? Okay, so what's his relationship like with his Mama and Sassy? And how do you know? All right, and I'll see you tomorrow.